Hello and welcome to Advanced English for Exams and Skills for Exams. Susan and I have prepared something special for you.
Hello guys, it's a lovely Saturday morning here, and we've decided to organize a webinar about the two sources we use quite a lot in our lessons, namely
Upstream Advanced and Expert Advanced.
So why have we decided to do that? First of all, I think we've been working with both for quite long already, and we absolutely love them. But I feel that some of our fellow colleagues may have certain issues regarding these two. Do you agree?
Definitely, because there are quite a few books out there for CE preparation. It's really difficult to choose the book. Right? Some people like working with complete, some people like working with masterclass, objective, you name it. But there is one thing for sure, the majority of people out there would support expert, and the other group of people, the people of old school, will prefer upstream, I guess.
Yeah, that's true. And if you are, well, you might be also a student planning or self-preparation, looking for materials, the best materials to use. So then you are in the right place, because hopefully today this is exactly what we're going to be discussing today, how to make the most of the two course books.
And while preparing for this very webinar, we asked you guys a couple of questions, maybe more than a couple. Right? Those were the myths and the prejudices, right, regarding these two course books. And we're going to discuss those myths together.
And thank you very much for taking part in this opinion poll we've organized.
We have divided all of those myths, all of those statements into 4 different categories, and we're going to address each of them accordingly. So without further ado, let's start. Right.
So I think it would be sensible to start with the components, because I feel some people may miss out on what the two course books have on offer, because there's more to it than meets the eye, apparently. And here you can see that Expert and Upstream have more or less the same number of components. And the major would be the student's book and the workbook, or the student resource book, as they call it in Expert. But there are some certain differences.
The most striking one, I think, would be the student CD, which Upstream has. That would be a fantastic source for learners, because all of the texts you have in your book are recorded for you. So you can listen to them, and they are recorded by native speakers, actors, and it means that you can listen to them, you can practice your listening skills, you can practice your pronunciation, namely into intonation, for instance, and it means that you can practice a bit more with a book, and that, of course, should be noted.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can really make some progress in terms of your fluency and discourse, even if you just repeat after the recordings. And as for experts, it provides you with an abundance of materials online, and there's free access to them.
I think that we should show it.
Oh yeah, that would be wise. So here you will see the special platform, which is called C1 English Portal, and it is related to a great variety of different course books. But let us have a look at the expert today. Once you register there, you get free access to the resources, everything but for the course book and the student resource book in itself. So you've got like all the audios, the answer keys, the scripts. You have a variety of tests, revision tests, mock exam tests, and there's a lot of photocopyables, and all of these you can even download for free. So I think that is a real treat. Would you agree?
Yeah, definitely. However, we understand that the price may differ. A lot depends on the price of the book, and you may buy a student's book with the special access to My English Lab. Mm-hmm. That would be a universal platform where you can practice pretty much everything. Why universal? Because this platform may be used not only with experts, but also with Gold Advanced, for instance. And it gives you additional materials which we can use in order to boost your exam skills, be it reading, speaking, writing, of some vocabulary practice. And so here, technically speaking, you have an additional test booklet.
Exactly. And this is very good for self-preparation as well, because they have quite a lot of videos regarding the strategies themselves. So you can first have a look at the instructions and how to approach each task in the exam, and then you can practice.
Then these application will save you answers, right? I can see that some of the materials were open. And of course, this application will check your answers too. And we understand that some people would opt for a computer-based exam. So that would be a very good way to practice for them, to read from the script, to type in some answers, to see whether you're comfortable with it or not.
It's pretty interactive indeed.
Talking about Upstream, they have a brand new application, which is called Interactive Whiteboard. And that would be a very, very good app for all of the people who work online, especially teachers, because if you buy it, it means that you get access to pretty much everything. And by everything, I mean it. So the student's book, the workbook, the teacher's book, the student's book CD, classroom CDs, everything is there, including tests. And this application gives you a wonderful opportunity to take screenshots, to translate every word, not to translate, to interpret any word there, because there you can find like an installed dictionary. All of the things are there for you just at your fingertips. That's fantastic. Now, another thing to consider would be the videos. So that's the thing Expert doesn't really have, as far as I remember. So all of the materials are there for you with videos, with additional exercises to practice your listening skills and the way you understood the video. So that would be absolutely fantastic.
You can see in the right-hand corner on the presentation that there are some certain myths we have collected. For instance, some people think that Upstream is old.
I understand where it comes from. After all, everyone used to have this old red book on their shelves, right? That would be a thick, not really good-looking book with a terrifying picture of a sufferer, as far as I remember. And everyone thinks that the book is old, but it has been revised recently. And talking about the materials which we can find in the book, all of them match the materials of the new exam from 2013. So that's a valid book for exam preparation.
And what's more, the workbook has been revised as well. It is brand new and it's fresh, so to say.
Yeah, definitely. And actually, a lot of people used to criticize Upstream for having like a different book, which did not really help with the student's book, rather like complemented it somehow with additional materials, even though right now you still can find a lot of new chunks in the workbook. Still, the workbook matches the course, and it means that after learning something with the teacher at home, a student can easily practice some idioms, some phrasal verbs, some word formation. So that's a good change. I'd say change for the better.
Then another concern was that IWB, this interactive whiteboard, is a waste of money because, let's face it, it does cost quite
an arm and a leg, yeah.
Especially with the experts, as usual, because experts, again, let's not forget, experts sell everything quite well. I mean, everything costs a little bit more expensive than Upstream.
However, so here I think we can discuss a bit this question of whether you need to have this whiteboard or not. In Expert, that's a big question because you get a lot of materials on the platform already. So you can easily use them, and it's still interactive. Whereas with Upstream, if we just combine the prices for the book, for the workbook, for the test, for the CDs, I think that this application will be even cheaper.
Oh yeah, and let's also not forget about the amount of time you may spend on guided discovery or checking the exercises, and everything will be done automatically for you. So I think it will.
Yeah, you don't really need to look for all of the listening materials for all of the tasks. They just, you click and everything is there already for you.
And very user-friendly.
Yeah, especially in the times of the pandemic. So that can be good.
Yeah, right. Now we're all working online. So have everything stored in one place.
And talking about experts, a lot of people claimed that the price is unreasonably high. Right, but we've just seen it. You get access to My Language Lab. Is it? Yeah, Language Lab. Then you get access to copious numbers of tests, worksheets, resources. You don't really need to pay for CD. You don't need to pay for pretty much anything. Once you pay for the book and the workbook, it's enough. Right, so it's a big question, right? Because you get a lot of things. After paying these amount of money.
Yeah, it's true. So I think on balance, they are more or less the same in terms of price. It's just the different ways to get the access.
To get this money from the prospective student, right? That's true. That's true. So let's move on to the syllabus. And here, as you see, there were 3 myths also. And the first one is about the time one needs to spend on the course. So from the slide, you can actually see that Upstream is not for a week or two. One will have to spend up to 200 academic hours on working with this course book, meaning that if you're pressed for time, it's better to choose a different book, for instance, Expert, because with Expert, it will take you just 90 academic hours to cover the book from cover to cover, which can be quite beneficial. Talking about the way you can work with the books. Still, if you're pressed for time and you're a fan of Upstream, you can always work with just Workbook and do some tests. There were some people out there who practiced this way and they did pass, so there is nothing wrong in that, I believe.
Yeah, it's true, because the Workbook will provide you with all the essentials. And I think in a way it is relatable to Expert, which claims to be an intensive, rigorous exam preparation. That's why it's short, concise, and really packed, but it doesn't give you more than what you need for the preparation. But some people have expressed concerns regarding the topics. Like you can see the second myth here, that Expert is poorly divided into units. So, like, it is sometimes hard to understand for the teachers, even how the certain parts within the book are connected.
Yeah, topics, the way the topics are related, yeah.
How the topics are connected, and the layout is a little bit questionable. But if you see, there are, like, the topics in Upstream and Expert are almost the same. They've got 10 theme-based units and 10 topical units, and they are more or less the same. So even the language is the same, but it may be given under a different source. And to my mind, the striking difference is in the way the language is presented. Like in Expert, you will be given a topic and the various aspects around this topic, because for the exam you have to be prepared to look at the theme from different perspectives, while Upstream will basically give you one topic and then you dive deep language-wise and just learn everything you can about one particular thing.
Yeah, so by and large, Upstream is, I would say, a more meticulous approach to the topic, right? You'll learn hundreds of words related to the world of traveling. It doesn't mean that you'll need all of those words to take your exam, most probably you won't use those words more often than not, but it is about language acquisition, right? You learn the language first and only then are you preparing for the exam. Whereas with expert, it's exam oriented, and we need to be honest with each other. More often than not, the exam tasks, which we can see in real exam, they are not that narrow. They're going to be more general, more abstract. That is why the part where we criticize experts, I think we should praise this book for it, because for exam, it's just the thing we need to do.
Yeah, it's true. But still, the core language will be the same. Like the most important, like the fundamental idioms, expressions you will need for, let's say, use of English will be the same. Both.
Yeah, but in different order.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but in different order.
But it doesn't matter. You will have learned them anyway if you come.
Yeah, that's true. And regarding the third myth here about what was it? Upstream is outdated. So here I think that people think about the materials they used for this book. So here we can easily debunk this theory, and we can compare the sources. All of them were taken from The Guardian, from well-known newspapers and magazines. And if we look at the dates, these articles were not published like 200 years ago. So they haven't been using these materials since the time immemorial, right? So they are kind of fresh, just 10, 15 years. And I don't really think that the language has changed that much, especially at this level, right?
Very true. And if you like you can notice that the texts that are used for upstream, once again, they are unabridged. They're like real life authentic sources. Is it a good or bad thing?
Oh, well, it depends. It depends. Again, it depends on the approach, right? What we're doing. If at learning the language, of course, at this level, it's better to have something authentic, right? Something which has not been changed just to, let's say, make up for the level, right? So I like upstream more for that, but I see the logic behind an expert. Sometimes you just don't have time to go through all of those materials which the text gives you, right? That is why the experts materials, they're just, I think that they're a bit artificially altered. So they added some vocabulary they want to practice a bit later on. So that's the main idea. It doesn't mean that they made the text easier. They just changed it so that it covers the things the authors had in mind.
Yeah, and we'll talk about it a little bit later, because it's something that you have to pay attention to while working with expert if you want to build this language flair and you have to really not only do the task, but to analyze the language in the text and in the tasks. And also, I think you've mentioned it also, I mean, while we were talking about it before the webinar, some people upstream looks outdated because of just the layout. It isn't as clear as experts say.
Yeah, that's true. Expert book looks like a glossy magazine. You look at it and you can compare it to like Cosmopolitan or I don't know, like those kind of magazines, because you open the book and the first thing you see just a big picture, right? Which covers half of the page and a teeny tiny exercise, like discuss the picture using these 5 words. So it is not really language oriented, it's just more for fun. And it's quite understandable because after all, this book was designed for courses, for communicative courses, which must be engaging, which must be interactive, where people do not just work hard, but they also relax and have fun. So it makes sense, I think. And when it comes to expert, yeah, that's hell. We must admit it. 7 pages of language acquisition, just 15 exercises, just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You need to do them all, probably. or you shouldn't,
you feel
probably.
right? Like, so once you open the book, it isn't that pleasing on the eye because it immediately reminds you of something back from school.
Yeah, happy English.
It's true.
Yeah, that's true. So it's a bit old. But once you understand the logic behind what they meant by it, and we are going to talk about it a bit later on, I think it becomes easier, right?
Yeah, it's true.
So does it mean that we are done with the syllabus?
I think so.
Yeah, so let's move on then. So the third category was the resources, right? And here we're going to talk about all of the, the abundance of resources both of the courses give us, and quite obvious questions one may have in their heads, like what to do with them and how. And I think it will be very prudent of us to show what we think would be right while addressing these two courses. And since we finished with upstream last time, I think it will be wise to talk a bit about expert.
Right. So normally, of course, I'd be working with expert in a different manner because, and as I've mentioned, and to answer address the concerns of those who think that the topics are poorly divided, I will scaffold with extra materials and extra sources and give my own speaking tasks, for example, so that I raise the awareness of my students before we do this or that particular task. But it's also enough to just use whatever you have in the book, but reorganize it in a way. So for that matter, for example,
what we are saying here, guys, we pretend that the only thing we have on our table would be the expert proficiency, expert advanced books, and nothing else. We don't have the internet, we don't have the Guardian, we don't have anything.
So I'm not even using any suggestions from the teacher's book. And of course, if you want to make the most of it, please do check the teacher's book for expert, because it will give you like ready-made lessons you can easily start working with. So here I'll be, and I won't be even asking extra questions. So I'm only using what I'm given. Right. So, let's imagine we have this first topic, which is success, but we look at it from the perspective of work success.
I think that we should show it. Nope.
Yeah, right. Okay. You are. So let us show it. And there you go. Here you can see unit 1 of expert advanced. And it is a little bit reorganized in a way that, for example, you can see the exercises are taken from different pages. And I'm only using whatever I'm given in the book and not adding anything else. So for the warm-up, for example, I will use some questions which are given under the topic of discussion. And we talk about the general situation in the country where people come from. We personalize it a little bit. They discuss their experiences. And that way we get prepared for the reading, which is coming later. The usual like warm-up reading task, and then we analyze the exam strategies. Experts gives very nice strategies, the same as upstream. We'll be discussing it a little bit later. Then once we've done with the reading, here comes the most important bit to my mind. We will be analyzing the language inside. Because although expert, as we've said already, doesn't give you a lot of exercises on idioms or just any other types of lexis, you can get them from the tasks. And this is what we do essentially. So for instance, later on, if we have a look at the next page, you will see some vocabulary exercises, but I won't be using all of them. I will just focus on one of them. Students will complete some sentences with these adjectives, and then they end up with very nice questions, again, around the topic of job and work experience. And then they will be answering these questions using all the language we have taken from the reading. And you can see it on the right. There's quite a lot. And then we'll be doing this listening, And basically, we will cover the whole topic of finding a job. So we'll be talking about the aspects of finding a job in the country, which qualities, experience, or anything else, you name it, we need for the job, practice it a little bit in a personalized manner, and then listen to an interview on how to make the first good impression, and finally land the job. That might be covered in one lesson, and then we have some extra discussion in case we have got time left.
Yeah, sounds logical. So what we're doing, we're just covering one topic. Just to clarify, we're not using just one or two exercises from one page. We're jumping from one page to another again and again.
Yeah, you just
to make
have
it more logical.
Yeah, you have to tweak it, but everything is there, but you just have to take a long
look for it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Especially when we're talking about this language, because as for upstream, it will be quite the opposite. But Vladimir, you will want to show.
Yeah. So let's talk about upstream. With upstream, it's going to be hell with a capital H, because the structure is somewhat different. Because if we look at an actual book, the first thing you notice is just the abundance of different exercises, which do not really go in order. You don't really have that many exercises to practice this vocabulary. That is why the thing you need to do with the book is just to fish out the materials you need here and now. The course is an extensive course, meaning that no one expects you to learn everything. You just need to think about the things which you need today. So, and here you see that I created this worksheet, which demonstrates just one lesson on the topic of success. Just as a warm-up, we can start with a discussion of the quotations, right? Saying whether we agree or disagree with them. After that, it will be quite wise to fish out some pieces of advice of what to do to become successful. So this is the listening. And as you see, it does, it looks similar to the task we have in our exam. So that's a good scaffolding for the task, for this task in the future. Then we are talking about these very pieces of advice, right? And we talk about someone we know, and we are saying to our partner whether this person has become successful and how it happened.
And I think you can already use the language you've inserted in exercise 2 here, right? Yeah,
of course. Like block out, get sidetracked, never give up, never give in. This channel your efforts in the right direction. Of course, these things should be used. Moving on, we can discuss different kinds of idiomatic expressions and collocations on the topic of working and working hard, right? So here they are with a nice exercise which you can, where you can practice this vocabulary. So here it is. To complement it, there are still some topics, some vocabulary which we can use from the book. There will be exercise 3. Right, and with different jokes, you can just discuss with your partner if you need to. So as you see, just these 4 exercises give you enough vocabulary to talk about pretty much anything, right? But as you see, these are not exercises 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So these are the exercises taken from different pages from one unit, but you need to see them, right? And since the topic of the lesson was success, I decided to discuss these things. So these vocabulary we needed to accumulate to do some exam tasks, because after all, this course is used when we prepare for the exams. So we can start with talking about special moments in our life when we felt happy. And these vocabulary can be used there too. After that, we can do the listening part, right? And we see that this is an exam task. That would be part 4. And to finish it off, since we've been talking about success, achievements, we can practice a bit of speaking. So that would be speaking part 2 with the pictures. So here they are. So as you can see, there are questions, there are pictures, and it will give us a wonderful opportunity to practice pretty much everything we've discovered throughout the lesson.
Sounds like a very nice plan to me. So what we're saying here, for those of you who think that Upstream is not a communicative course, this is exactly the way you can make it more engaging.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, again, may I remind you, if once you open the book, you will get 11 exercises on Lexis, but Vladimir here is taking only 3.
Mm-hmm.
And
we are doing that because those 11 exercises, they are devoted to different topics. So not necessarily success. It can be something different. Mm-hmm. And later on, for example, today we've been talking about success, but later on we can talk about something different. And I will use those materials too, but not today, not tomorrow, probably, maybe in a week or 2.
And definitely not in the same order as the book. And on the other hand, again, what I was trying to show that although for many people, expert seems like shallow, communicative, I've actually tried to make it a little bit more solid and show this extensive language experience you can get if you really take a thorough approach and analyze what you're doing, not simply do the tasks they give you.
Mm-hmm. So those people who think that experts won't give you an A, well, just work with the book.
Yeah.
Right? So just work with the book, try to get everything the book gives you. And that's a lot. And there was one more question about Workbook, whether the Workbook is optional. What do you think?
Oh, I can't say it's about either of the two because I think you would agree with both books. You will be recycling about 60 or 70% of what's given in the course book, but there will be also a lot more language again to practice and a lot more exam format tasks.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't get rid of the workbook.
Yeah, of course. And you can do it in different ways. One of them would be just to do it at home and practice with the materials on your own. Or there can be another approach, the one a lot of students of mine do. So just before the exam, just in 2 weeks or 3 weeks, just do everything from the very first unit so that you revise the core vocabulary, core grammar structures you need to take your exam and pass it with flying colors.
Yeah, that's exactly what my students do as well. And we either revise them a little bit later while we start the mocks, or right before the exam, that will be the intensive revision.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that sounds like a nice idea. So now the time has come for some serious stuff, right? So we'll have to put our serious mode or serious mask or something, because we're going to talk about exam tasks in both of the books. And I think that we should start with reading and use of English. So if you look at this at the slide, we see that the number of the tasks, they're more or less the same, right? The only difference is that in Upstream, we normally have 2 readings per unit, but I don't really think that it makes it different or more challenging, because it's just the number. You can always take one task from a different source if you want to, and there is also a workbook where you can grab one of the tasks. Now, talking about the challenges, both of the tasks are okay. They are up to the level, right? Both of the books, give us different pieces of advice on how to tackle the task more effectively. But I must say that here, both of the books are somewhat different. For instance, Upstream will cover the strategies only in the first 3 units. They will just discuss the task and they will guide you through and they will tell you about all the things you need to do there. Then later on, they will not give you anything unless it is important. So there may be just a new thing you need to learn about the task. Whereas in experts, there is a lot of scaffolding always. Yeah, so they will always discuss something.
Yeah, it's true. Like in expert, they will give you some strategies in the same manner. The first 3 or 4 units, they basically cover almost all the parts of the exam, and they teach you how to approach it. And maybe here Upstream is a little bit more expensive because they really give you long to-do lists and checklists in a task. But later on, Upstream will change the strategy and they will give you this task analysis bits, like after the task already. They will now throw some extra questions at you and you will analyze what you were doing. And that's where you kind of build your own strategy closer to the exam. All
so
right.
about listening, right? The approach is somewhat different there too, right?
Yeah, we've got almost the same. I mean, well, here at least for Unit 1, we've got amount and the number of tasks. Well, with listening, I think most of my students would agree that it is more or less the same in terms of the level of difficulty. Although sometimes, of course, it's our favorite for junior errors. You may want to listen to it once again. And I mean, more or less the same on balance. Inside, as the same as in the real exam, sometimes listening tasks are a little bit challenging and you have to write to the challenge. And sometimes they're kind of easy peasy, a piece of cake. So it could be different, and it's different within different even units. There is no like progress from simple to difficult. I think it's the same about Upstream.
Yeah, but just I wanted to add something about experts. And experts, what I like about them is the fact that in first units, they do not really throw you the task. First, they will build on it. So they will ask you to just listen to one speaker, analyze the questions, so that you understand what they actually want from you here. In Upstream, even though there are some scaffolding materials, but still they're quite challenging, right? You'll have to rack your brains in order to understand what they actually want from you. Whereas in Expert is more about baby steps and you constantly grow. That would be really good if you work on your own, right? And you need this guidance.
Yeah, now that you've mentioned it, I remember, of course, there will be these kind of steps and they will teach you and they will guide you through what we mean by paraphrasing. They will pay attention explicitly to some bits like where the speaker makes pauses, so where you are expected to find the answer. They will really teach you that. So this means that Expert is not effective for self-preparation. It's probably not.
Not really the case, even though the book is super communicative and it will be a lot of fun for you to work with a study buddy at least, but it doesn't mean that you can't work with this book on your own.
Yeah, you can. And of course, you can also always use the teacher's book where there will be even more for you to analyze.
And all of those resources, of course. Moving on to speaking, right? So I think that here we will agree on the simple fact that Expert is, way better when it comes to helping the students with the speaking. In the way that, again, since it's a communicative, glossy course, there will be a lot of questions and they don't look artificial because they do relate to exam questions. So most of the discussions you'll have later on, they would be typical part 4 questions or part 1 questions. And you're getting prepared for the speaking part without realizing that you're actually preparing for the exam. They can give you these pictures and they can ask you to discuss the differences in, let's say, in their mood, like the aspects of something. And technically speaking, this is a task.
They're exactly what you would be expected to provide or demonstrate in the exam. However, what I like a lot about Upstream, I mean, when they give you these sample answers with it leaves a lot to be desired. They are too standard, and if you listen to the examples of Upstream, like where they give you samples of speaking, they're just beyond.
Yeah, just memorize them by heart. The interactive part with all of those stack questions throughout, with the clarification, with building on what you hear, like all of those things Russian speakers normally struggle with in the interactive parts. And here I'm not really talking about grammar and vocabulary, even though it's just beyond comparison. Still, even those small things, right? If we're talking about all of the box ticking things like done, so that would be a strong 5 for the answers.
I mean, the discourse is absolutely amazing there. On the other hand, the way I may suspect, I understand like why they do this in experts. So they will give you the sample answers for you to analyze, and you will be able to find the bits which are really good, as well as
and something you can improve, right?
So that way, again, you build your strategy. Yeah,
and there is another thing, if I may, there's another good thing about expert, and that is why it makes different, is the fact that you listen to the recording, and then they will give you a task where you can fill in the blanks with the words you hear, or which chunks they used, which words they used in order to connect the idea. So it is not just listen and have this awe-inspiring experience, like, okay, I will never sound like that. It's more like listen to them, be like them, and become better, right? Yeah. Now do that, so that you think like, okay, is it really the level we're talking about? Yeah, it is. But since you want to get not just the C and you want to be better, of course you will work on it. And expert teaches you.
Yeah, but we have to remember that whichever examples they provide in productive, both speaking and writing, they are up to standard, but not higher.
But of course, I don't know, fortunately or unfortunately, they are incomparable to the things you may see in Upstream. 4 pages of writing in every unit with the beautiful sample answers, which will be just up to scratch with the structure, with the language, with the grammar, anything. And what makes these pages completely different is the fact that they don't just give you the task, they actually teach you how to write like that. So they will analyze the topic sentences, the supporting sentences. They will give you a paragraph and they will ask you to change it. They will ask you to write 5 paragraphs before you approach your final essay. And then when you actually start writing, you take it to it like duck to water, because they have been preparing you for it.
And I mean, it's again with Geneva so favorite. Like once you practice these 5 different paragraphs and you open the book and look at the samples, and they're still even way better than what you thought. Although you were really prepared to write everything already. So much to learn from.
So when it comes to communicative achievement, right, a lot of people have questions about like the conventions of the communicative task. What's that? Like, technically speaking, these are just rules, right? This book, Upstream C1, will give you the solid guidance of what to do, what not to do, differences between the register. It even teaches you punctuation in unit, I think it's unit 9 or 8, so somewhere at the back of the book, it will teach you even punctuation, which is a very rare case when it comes to all of the books we have on the market.
Well, we do have some exercises on punctuation again in Expert, but
I didn't know that.
So, I mean, still, so here it's kind of, it depends on the skills, right? So now when people say Upstream is better for self-study, yeah, it is. But, for example, in writing, you can easily do it on your own, but you will probably need some guidance or
with a teacher,
approach with some other bits, yes, because you don't know what you're expecting. The same for experts, like some bits, but as for writing, you will need a teacher guidance, and it's not enough what they give you there, yeah.
So it will require a bit more input from you.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
So we're all aiming at the highest band possible. At least that's what I tell my students.
Yeah. So
bring us.
That's true. That's true. And summarizing everything we've been talking about, there were quite a few myths. And we understand that more often than not, those were just myths.
Anyway, they say that these won't bring you an A, or how to get an A. That was the question.
Yeah, like a magic pill, right?
Yeah,
of course.
We can't say there's a universal recipe for success, is there? I mean, it's just that it's better not to ignore either of these, because they're both really useful. The layout is a little bit different. The organization probably is different, but language-wise, content-wise, and skill-wise, they will help you to prepare for exams.
Yeah, after all, both of the books were designed for exam preparation, right? And of course, they will guide you. And since thousands of teachers around the globe recommend both of the sources, it means that both of the sources work, right? The attitude is probably different, but it's up to you to choose.
Yeah. And I think the universal recipe is just learn hard, study.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. Because when it comes to exam preparation, it is not only about doing the tasks, it's developing your language skills, read more, practice more. If you don't have a teacher, it doesn't mean that you can't prepare for the exam without a teacher. A lot of people did that, and there is no magic pill, there is no magic potion, there is no genie who can grant you 3 wishes. No, it's hard work. It's about language exposure, reading more, watching more, speaking more. And since we're talking about C1, like the advanced level, it's still possible to do a lot of things on your own.
It is. On the other hand, now that you've said it, still I'm thinking that of course with upstream, this process of reading more and finding more is a little bit facilitated.
Yeah, of course.
They give you everything, and you can build this language flat, this knowledge, well-rounded knowledge, just doing everything you've got in the book. While with expert, you are given the ideas and prompts and aspects, and then based on them, you can go and look for something extra, because now you know what you're expected, all the different perspectives you need to know of the topic.
So just to wrap everything up, because I think that our viewers are super tired by now. So Expert is an intensive exam preparation course, whereas Upstream is a language course with exam preparation. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Because I have this idea, I think.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. And the final thought is just do whatever you can. The more you do, the better. I've never seen students who would say like, "Oh, I've been working hard and I failed." That's just impossible.
Yeah, that's not true. That's
really
not true.
Yeah. Good luck with the exam preparations. For those of you who are sitting exams in the nearest future, the best of luck.
Yeah, we never know what the future holds, but if you're sitting this exam, well, all the best luck you can possibly accumulate. I'd pray to God's old and new, because one of them is listening. So thank you so much for watching. That was a great pleasure. Thank you, Susan, for joining me today. Or thank you, Vladimir, for joining Susan today.
Yeah.
So, and I hope that's just the beginning, and I hope that we shall meet again, and we'll have a new webinar coming soon.
We have prepared something.
Yeah, we have prepared something, but that's top secret. No one knows about it.
Not yet.
Yeah,
well,
not
we do.
yet.
Thank you very much.
So thank you so much.
Yeah, see you.